Welcome to the first topic of the feminist economics after the introduction. Today's topic is feminist critique of economics, where we will see how um, uh, basically the school itself criticized the existing economics in all senses. I mean, both in terms of its topics, but also in terms of its methodology, and what are the alternatives. And we also discuss those alternatives and critiques of those alternatives, basically. Um, I should tell you that if we had actual classes, we will have a 3 hour long class. However, in that class, I mean, 3 hour long lecture basically, if we had face to face education. But in those 3 hours, basically, what I was hoping to do is initiate discussion with you on the topic. So basically, the part in which I speak was, at least I hoped to keep it as small as possible, and um, since face-to-face discussion is not anymore possible, basically the lectures are kind of introduction of the topic, and I strongly recommend you to think about the topics you are introduced to, and also ask questions on it. And if you want, we can have our discussions also. So we start with in the first slide. I want to introduce a documentary. If we had time, if we had face-to-face education, I would basically let you watch it. Now I give you a link, and I strongly recommend you to watch it. It's called "If Women Counted," actually based on a book written by Marilyn Waring, and she also has become active politically. She, at the same time, also she's an academician, and here actually she is especially criticizing the GDP concept, but it's a good starting point of feminist critique, although it's a critique of a particular concept. And you will see actually the idea that the female type of work, which is critical and crucial for the survival of the society, is not seen in the national account, and basically women who are actually working very hard are seen by the economic system or by the economic indicators unoccupied, basically. So, well, that I let's say assume you have seen it, and I'm continuing. Well, this week we had 5 actually articles. I don't cover 2 of them, but let me also I will also briefly introduce the 2 in a minute. But the 3 are actually, I think, the most critical ones. That's why I focus on them. The first one is actually Nelson's article of Nelson, Feminist Critique of Mainstream Economics, summarizes the main points, main aspects of the critique made by feminist economists. and the school in general. Uh, and Star article focuses on a special aspect, alternative methods, basically. We will already see the topics, but the idea, especially the um, methodological aspect of feminist critique is especially interesting. I mean, because, well, you might expect feminist economics to, focus more on maybe gender issues or certain issues that are not seen by the mainstream economics. But why should feminist critique also focus on the methodologies? I mean, can we say there are certain methodologies that are masculine and some certain methodologies that are feminine? And actually, in the first article, this discussion is also covered. In the second article, um, well, the what the particular methodologies that are promoted by the feminist economics are actually put into discussed in more detail. Um, And actually, the next lecture, when we look to the capability approach, we will see basically a more particular, more, um, let's say, concrete example of how this methodological discussion and also topic discussion merge with each other, basically. There, actually, we will see how we are able to measure the social well-being and feminist economics. Actually, not only feminist economics, but multiple branches in economics, economics from multiple different branches. But mostly feminist economists and environmental economists are the main groups that really like the approach. They come with an alternative way to describe economic well-being, which is a kind of alternative to the gross domestic product (GDP), most used indicator to measure the economic well-being. Well, last article, England's article, it is kind of question the basic assumptions that are existing in the in economics. Basically, the assumptions on the market itself, or the market economy and its extractions. Let me say also, factory is not the market within the market, but it's seen as a part of the market economy, since I mean its products are being sold at least by the mainstream economics, basically. And home is not seen as part of market economics because it is produced there. At least the basic products are not sold. Although, of course, labor, you might think labor is also produced in the house and sold, but that's not seen as a typical product produced in the household. And usually, the market is seen as a place where actors are acting selfish. I mean, they concentrate on their own self-interests, while at home they are kind of expected to act more altruistic, caring for other members of the family, household. And we will basically look what will happen if these assumptions are relaxed, and, well, to what extent these assumptions can be trusted, and, well, when we relax it, what will happen? Just a brief look to it. I mean, it's not a very, let's say, it is not a critique that goes very deep, but even at the surface, I mean, as a surface level critique, it has some interesting implications. I mean, it describes some interesting implications, which is worth to read, in my opinion, also. There are two articles written by Drusilia Barker left. One of them is written in 2000, basically. The other article is written in 2013. And both articles, actually, 2013 article is interesting because it also contains certain aspects of feminist economics which has been not that successful up to that point. So both articles are kind of giving you an idea on the more like the kitchen, the background of the feminist economics. I mean, the basic figures and the feminist movements behind it, which inspired the feminist economics, and also its relation with other schools, and its critique within itself, how feminist economics criticize feminist economics itself. One point of feminist economics is actually it is not a project that is it doesn't have a central figure, and it has it also is in a way project in progress. In many cases, many concepts are the concepts that are introduced by feminist economics are questioned by the feminist economists themselves, basically. So these two articles are good to look a little bit to them, to this more deep into the way feminist economics as a school has evolved. But I left them since I think the one article I'm talking about, the article of the Nansen, is good in bringing up the main critique of the feminist economists. So I left the kitchen, I mean, background of this critique to you. If you are willing to learn it, you are more than welcome to read them and even discuss those articles with me. So let's start with the first article. Real men don't cry. I like this part. So Nelson starts with the idea that, well, he describes characteristics of a typical science. Objectivity, which means, I mean, the truth should be defined not relative to a certain person, but independent of the people. Separation, we separate the items from each other and try to observe their particular characteristics. And then, starting from these characteristics, we try to find the more general characteristics for the for groups that are involving those individual individual items or individual beings. Logical consistency. Logically, they should be not contradictory with each other. Mathematics is an important tool of science. I mean, in order to be scientific, mathematics should be involved because it creates an objective language according to the idea. I mean, so basic aspects of the science, basic claims should be it should be possible to express them with mathematics. Abstraction, that means we should define certain characteristics of items. Well, which will be the general characteristics, which means, for example, I want to focus on this particular pen and the characteristics of this particular pen, like the white part of it, or its specific color here, or its name here,